Welcome to Business Innovators Radio, featuring industry influencers and trendsetters sharing proven strategies to help you build a better life right now.
Hi, everyone. This is Tammy Patzer, and I'm excited to introduce today's guest, who is returning to the show, Don C. MEYER. Don is a former rocket scientist turned energy healer. So think about that for a minute. She has such a unique perspective on the universe and the way things work in our earthly world, but also in the universal aspect. So I want to tell you a couple things about Dawn, but I'm going to keep it kind of short today. She is a space shuttle software engineer, obviously a real rocket scientist, international best-selling author, inspirational coach, empowering coach also, energy healer, access consciousness bars facilitator practitioner, a holy fire to UC, is it USUI? Reiki?
Usui.
Usui.
It's Japanese.
Usui Reiki master, and of course so much more. But the reason why I want to rush through that introduction today, Don, is because you've got a big message for us today related to the three big lies we tell ourselves. So I want to get right into that. So welcome, Don.
Thanks, Tammy. It's great to be on again, because I think this is my third time. Hey.
Yeah, well, we always have such great conversations, and really the reason I wanted to talk to you again is because we started talking the very first time we had not met at all. And since that time, we have actually met many times and been to different conferences, I think from Florida to California, we've crossed paths many times. And I actually experienced your access consciousness bars. And I'll just tell everyone, oh my God, it was a short session, maybe 15 to 20 minutes.
It was 20 minutes.
And I remember getting up, and I felt kind of giddy, and I had joy. And the only way that I could liken it was the joy you feel as a child when you're out and you're picking flowers or stomping in mud puddles or blowing the dandelion and making a wish or looking for a four-leaf clover. That was that feeling of childlike joy that I felt after that session, and I'll never forget it because it was so emotionally uplifting, and I had not felt like that since I was, a little girl under 5 years old. So that was an extremely powerful experience for me. So tell me more, what would you say is the number one biggest lie people tell themselves today?
I would say their number one is that it's too late. They don't have any choices left. A lot of people get stuck in that. It's like, I'm 40, I'm 50, I'm whatever, I've got kids, or I don't have kids anymore, or whatever. And they think that they don't have any choices left, that they've got to stick with what they are, or they have these responsibilities that there's nobody else that can do except them. So they kind of get stuck in that, I have no choice here. And I call that a no choice universe. It's like their whole universe is just stuck where it is, instead of realizing that they have all sorts of choices that they can be making. They just have to start asking what else is available to them. And really looking at what other things are here? Because when you say you don't have a choice, you're saying, okay, universe, I'm not open to anything else. This is it. And instead of saying, well, what choice do I have here? Or if I made a different choice, how much freedom could I be creating for myself and everybody else involved here? So they get stuck in not even looking for new possibilities because they think they don't have any.
That's a really good point, because again, I'm thinking, I always think about what you say and about those choices that we make. And I know that we all go through these different points in our lives, and, sometimes we are responsible for other people in our life. So we might make a choice. Like some people stay married because they worry about how the kids will be affected. And then the kids grow up and go, boy, I sure wish that you and dad or whomever had gotten a divorce, because, a child, what do they want? They want their parents to be happy. They don't really, the dynamics of it are, it's all about people being happy. But you're right, as you get older, like, for example, I'm in a place now where my children have finally moved out. And so I'm like going, whoa, what choices do I have? And when you say ask, who really are you asking?
I always ask God, source, universe. It's like, okay, here I am, God, source, universe. What other choices do I have here? What possibilities are here? Who would like to show up in my life, or who would like to leave my life, that would make the changes that I'm looking to make and really start creating that life that I would like to have? And then listen, be willing to listen and pay attention to who shows up, what shows up, who leaves, who changes, how they're behaving, all that stuff. Because all these possibilities start presenting themselves when you tell the universe, because that's what that question does. It tells the universe that you're open to something new and you're willing for new possibilities to show up. And the universe says, hey, I've got some. It starts showing you what you can have of that smorgasbord of choices that you really have available.
And I think the big thing is it might not be instant.
That's true.
And so that, I think, is where a lot of people, they say, well, I asked and I didn't get any answer. And it's like, well, when did you ask? Oh, like 5 minutes ago. Well, you got to give things a little bit of a chance.
Yeah. You never know how much the universe has to rearrange in order to make that happen. If you want to have a new house, it's not necessarily going to just materialize in your current driveway or on top of your existing house. Things have to move around a little bit. So yeah, people do. They get caught up in that, well, I've asked and nothing has shown up. Has really nothing shown up, or it's just not showing up exactly the way you decided it had to show up? Maybe somebody showed up that had a flyer for a house that would be exactly what you want. Those sort of things happen and you don't pay any attention because it's not exactly what you thought you wanted.
So you have to, like you said, you have to have an open mind and turn on the awareness of what is showing up and be aware that something showed up. And sometimes what you want isn't even as good as what is out there for you. So I think the and this or something better concept is always really important. I was taught that a long time ago. And when I started to add that to my thinking, that, hey, I'd like this or something better, it was amazing the something betters that would show up. And sometimes what I thought I wanted wasn't what I wanted at all. And I really see that in the, like, for example, relationships with men I thought I really, really wanted. And then I find out later, boy, that really was not what you wanted, but you kind of like created that situation. And then once I made that choice, I thought I was stuck with it. And I know you have more big lies, and I think that's kind of isn't that one of the lies we tell ourselves, that we have to accept all the choices we've made and live with it? Like my mom used to say, you've made your bed, now lie in it. So that was like, that to me told me, you made a choice, now you have to live with the consequences, and you can't, it's like no backseas, that
Right.
set in stone. Is that true?
Well, I mean, the thing about, you don't have to make all your choices work. So when people say you've made your bed, now you have to lie in it, I always say, no, you don't have to lie in the bed. You can check out of that room. You can check out of that hotel. You can get a different room. You can move across town, whatever. You don't have to stick with it. You don't have to make it work. We get stuck in this, oh, I chose this, I have to make it work. Otherwise, people will think I was stupid for choosing it. I'll be wrong. Everybody will think bad of me. I'll be a quitter. All those judgments go through your head that you think you're giving up on this, that you're quitting, and it isn't necessarily true. When you're asking if this is going to work for you, and it comes back, no, not really. It's not creating what I would like to have in my life. Letting go of it is what's really beneficial to you instead, rather than trying to force it to work, rather than continuing to throw more time and energy against it when it's not going to create what you would like to have in your life. So you can do a course correction. You're not really quitting. You're letting go of what's going on right now, and you're course correcting to get to where you'd like to be. It's like when you're going across the lake and you're looking at the dock and you're starting to drift to the right and you're heading toward the wrong dock. You don't keep going to the wrong dock. You turn the wheel and you come back to going toward the dock you would like to be going to. So that's what you're doing in your life when you're course correcting. You're letting go of thinking, oh, I've got to do this and I've got to make this work. Instead, you're saying, well, my ultimate plan or ultimate goal or desire is to be over here. So what is it that I can choose that would take me there? And if I have something that I've chosen that's not taking me there, I can let go of that and choose something different that will take me toward what I would like to have in my life. And again, asking the universe, God source, what is it that would take me there? What choices can I make that would actually start moving me toward what it is that I would like my life to be and where I would like to be in life?
So when you ask these questions, and I know sometimes you, because of the fact that there are many paths that you could take, how do you get, when you're asking God, source, universe for answers, how do you get it so that you will have the knowing when you're to recognize the answers and the paths? Because somebody like me, for example, I see all these possibilities, and then I'm like, oh, well, I could do this, and I know that, because I have all of these options, and I don't need to be stuck in anyone, but of course I always want to take the best path. Is there a barometer that we have, that helps us to make these better choices? And to know, when you were talking, I kept hearing Kenny Rogers singing in my head, the song, you have to know when to hold them, know when to walk away.
Yeah.
And that's really true. We have to develop this knowing of, well, yeah, I can do this. Like, let's say I'm trying, over time, maybe somebody asked you to marry them and you could have said yes, or you could say no, thank you, next. But like many of us, we said yes, and then we find out the day after we get married, boy, that was a mistake. It took us 5 years to untangle ourselves out of it, and everything. that's not autobiographical, haha. That is what happens. We make these choices. So do you have any advice on that? About how do we know when we're really getting that divine answer from God, universe, source?
Well, what I normally do when I start asking those questions is I center myself. And, so I do a relaxation, do a couple deep breaths. And then I ask the question, if I choose this, what will my life be like in 5 years? And I get the sense of that. And then I say, if I don't choose this, what will my life be like in 5 years? So then I go with whatever of those feels lighter, feels more expansive. Because a lot of times what's true for us, what will work for us feels lighter, and what isn't true for us, we'll call it a lie, or we call it just what's not going to work for us, feels heavy. So then I can go through each of those choices if you've got a series of choices. And then once I get it narrowed down to the ones that would be more expansive, then I start asking, okay, well, which one of these will take me toward what I would like to have? Which one of these is my next step? Because if you've got all these options and you've got all these ideas, you don't want to just throw them away, write them down, and you can keep asking them, is now the time for you, or are you for later? So that you keep track of them, and then just keep asking them, is now your time, is now your time, is now your time?
Yeah,
do I need to work on you today? Yeah, I know you do. You have a very full plate.
Well, I'm going to come back because I definitely want to ask what is the third big lie, but then I want to come back and expand more on what you do and how you help people, because that is one thing about you is of all, I know a lot of healer type people or people who are life coaches. And one thing about you that where the rocket scientist really appeals to me is because in all this energy work you do, you have logic, and there's this logical explanation that I think is that rocket science part of you that I find personally very appealing, because you're grounded, and yet you have these phenomenal insights and abilities. But I think that grounded part of you is what makes you so unique and able to really help people to pinpoint. So I'll come back to that. But what is the third big lie?
The third big lie is that you're not enough. So whether that's you're not good enough, smart enough, thin enough, young enough, old enough, tall enough, talented enough, whatever, thin enough, heavy enough, whatever those things are, that you're just not enough. And you hear those from all sorts of different places. You've got friends and family and teachers and society telling you these things on what you're supposed to be and who you're supposed to be and how you're supposed to look and when you're supposed to do something, and you buy into that, and then it isn't working out for you, but you keep trying to make it work because obviously those people were experts and they knew what they were talking about, and they wouldn't tell you those things if it wasn't true. And you have to start looking at, am I really enough? And again, sometimes maybe you're not fast enough to run the race. How important is that? Or I'm not good enough at doing websites. Who can I find to help me? Now, when people are telling you you're not good enough, then you have to look at, okay, whose voice is that's telling me that in my head? And I can just thank them for their input and say, I'm going to let go of that now because it isn't mine. Because a lot of times you'll hear the person that told you that the most in your head, and you know that was just their opinion of you. Doesn't necessarily have anything to do with you. That That saying that it's none of my business what other people think of me is true, because it's just their judgment of you, which probably has nothing to do with you and mostly to do with them.
Yes, I think that's true.
So when you've got this I'm not good enough thing going on, stop and say, is that really true? What is it that I actually can do and can't do? And does whoever's voice that is have anything to do with reality? And start letting that go.
That makes a lot of sense, because so many of us carry things, from childhood. And there's actually, in Hindu, it's called Chintan. And that's where you actually look back at your life and do a life review. And the other day I had a dream, and in it, it was like it was showing me these little moments of time where somebody, maybe they gave me a dirty look, or they said something under their breath. And of course, and those are all things that people do when they're like trying to disarm you and make you feel like you're not good enough. And in this dream, it was very interesting, because it was like I was showing all these little moments of time, and in my dream state, I said to myself, oh, I didn't realize how much that affected me at that time. Let it go. And
very good.
So obviously my subconscious was saying, okay, let's go look at some of these perceived things where you thought you were not good enough because of some mean thing somebody said. An example, we talk about bullying today. Well, when I was a kid, they didn't call it bullying. It was just part of life, to be called names. Like I was called a fat brain or a moose. And when I actually look at the reality of it, I was like 20 pounds overweight for my height. But back then, everybody was all skinny, because we didn't have the issues where everybody was fat like we do now. A lot of people are overweight now. And I remember I carried that for a long time. And even when I lost weight and I was a normal weight, I still saw myself as that overweight kid. And it is interesting how even when I lose weight, I'll still see myself as that heavy person. And then it's funny, because there's sometimes when I'm heavier and I feel like I'm this thin, runway model. And I laugh, because it's all, nothing really changed except my perception.
Right. It's the way you're viewing yourself and the way you and your body are working together. Sometimes your body says, hey, we are having a great day. We look good. We feel good.
Yeah. And it's
so
like
I'm sending out that energy. Yeah.
This lightness in you, and it's amazing. But I do think those are three big lies, and that one about not being enough. If you look at, I meet phenomenal, fabulous people they've got this big energy, big messages, and big missions, and that they know what they're doing. And yet, often, one of the big things is, I'm not good enough, I don't know enough. And especially when it comes to technology, I've been working with this one woman, and she keeps going, oh, I'm going to have to go back to school to learn how to do computers. And I said, no, you don't have to learn how to do the computers. Go ahead and work with somebody to do these things so that you can do what you do, because there's no point in spending all of this time to educate yourself in something that is it's a tool to get going. And sometimes we'll do that where I spent hours and hours learning how to do videos and websites and computers. And I look at it now and I go, wow, I should have just turned that over to somebody else and done my creation and trusted that somebody else could do all the mechanical stuff. And it would have saved me thousands of hours and years of progress, because I was so busy doing all of this infrastructure stuff that if I would have trusted someone who actually knew how to do it, I would be much farther ahead in everything. So repeat what the three lies are again for me.
So one of them is it's too late. You don't have any choices left.
Okay.
Number 2 is you have to make all your past choices work. And number 3 is that you aren't good enough. You aren't enough.
So when you work with people, Don, is there one of these that you see that you start with? And tell me more about, if somebody wants to work with you, how do you work with people?
So I work with people. Sometimes I do programs, like I have one coming up in July called Reboot Your Boundaries and Relationships, which is you work online. And then I also do coaching programs. So I'll do a 90-day coaching program with someone, and we'll really do a deep dive into what it is that they would like their life to be. And we start exploring what it is that's keeping them from having that, from getting there. And those 3 lies are one of my big starting points, is that you say you would like to have this. Okay, so now let's start looking at what's keeping you from getting there. Do you believe that you can have it? Do you believe you deserve it? Or do you believe you don't deserve it? And we really start diving into what it is that's keeping them from getting there. So when I work with them in the 90-day program, it's working with them over the phone or Zoom or Skype, whichever is their preference, and doing that deep dive. And then I do some energy work with them too, remotely, or if they're local, I'll do it in person if they'd like. And really helping to get that stuff moving for them and start getting to the root of what's holding all this other stuff in place. Because even though it may show up as one thing, like it may show up as I'm not sleeping, the core of it, the root of it is something different. The root of it is you know, a lot of times that you've got things just keep playing back and forth in your head, and you haven't let go of it. And a lot of times it's one of these lies that just keeps coming back, and it'll wake you up in the middle of the night because you just don't let it go.
Right. The who am I to be whatever I am?
Right.
I mean, because I know every now and then that imposter syndrome will come up, and I know I've had it happen for me. It's like, well, who am I? And then if I actually spend some time going, well, I've done this, and this, and I actually do have the credentials to offer information. And sometimes do you find that we forget who we are sometimes, especially when we're feeling, let's say maybe we're not feeling well, or somebody does say something to us and they make us doubt that concept of being enough.
Yeah, and we go back to that pattern, which a lot of times we learned as a kid, is the pattern of you're not enough because your teacher tells you you're not good enough. Your parents tell you you're not good enough. Your friends tell you, or your not friends tell you you're not good enough. And so you fall back into that pattern because that was how you lived. That was what was familiar to you. And so what I look at with clients is to start breaking those patterns. Start finding that pattern and then start letting it go so that you can start breaking free of it and creating something different. So that when you choose A, you don't automatically go to B. You know, get rid of those autopilot settings. Once we eliminate your choice B out here, okay, now when A happens, it's like, oh, okay, I have a different choice. I can choose something different now. You know, maybe I'll choose Q. And allow them to really start getting there and start letting go of what everybody else has told them and what everybody else, every place where they're trying to live somebody else's version of their life. and start really getting to what they would like to have as their life. So to get in touch with me, my website is IamPurpleDawn.com.
I am
PurpleDawn.com.
And I was just at your website, and boy, you've got a lot of stuff there. You've got some free stuff. 5 powerful questions to change your life. I see that if I go to your website, it's right on the front page.
Mm-hmm.
On the About page. Maybe it's on the front page, too. I know it's on your About page.
So it should be up in the right-hand corner.
And what is that?
So that's like our mutual friend Shannon. She calls me the Queen of Questions, because that's what I start working with people on, is start asking them questions. Because when you ask a question, it opens doors. It lets God, Source, Universe know that you're open to changing things, open to something different, open to new things showing up. So with the 5 questions that I have in that book, it's the one that I tell people to start asking. Start asking those things like, what other choices do I have here? And what other possibilities are available to me? And what's my next step? So those are just the beginning of the 5 questions, because there are so many questions that I ask people.
Well, and also in this workshop that's coming up in July, what's involved in that? You mentioned that that particular workshop is an online workshop that people can participate in. Is that accurate?
Yes. Back in February, I offered this as a live program. It's called Reboot Your Boundaries and Relationships. And now I wanted to offer it to people so I can have a greater impact, because it's so beneficial to people. It's helping you to learn how to set your boundaries in all the relationships of your life, personal and professional, so that you can start creating a life that you'd like to have rather than always giving it up for everybody's priorities. It's learning to say no again, so that you're not getting to the end of the day and you've done nothing on your to-do list and you're exhausted because 5 other people asked you to do stuff for them during the day and you said yes to every one of them. And that yes is starting now to destroy your health. It's starting to destroy your business. It's starting to destroy your income, because you're not doing any of the things that take care of you and what you need to have in your life in order to make your life work. So when we do this workshop, it's about showing you the tools, showing you to look at things differently, helping you take things off your plate, and also helping you maybe to add things to your life that you need, like maybe somebody to drive your mother-in-law to the doctor, or somebody who'll come in and do the cleaning, or somebody who'll do your website, like you said. Those places that you're expending all your energy that you don't really need to be doing that. You could get somebody else to do it, and to do it without guilt. It's letting go of where you think you're a bad person or you're not enough if you start actually asking for help. So what I'm doing right now is I've got an early bird for it. Like I said, it's going to be online. There'll be recordings, so if you can't be on all the live ones, you can listen to the recordings and send me questions. So it's at my website, IamPurpleDawn.com/reboot, REBOOT-relationships.
Reboot
relationships. So if you go to my event calendar on my website, you'll see it there in July, because it'll be the Tuesdays in July, starting on the 9th. And you can sign up, and people who sign up this week before June also get a bonus of my daily meditation series recordings.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I'm actually on the page, and I see Shannon Gronich has a testimonial there, and you do. To get this early bird special, I'm going to have to get this up into the show soon so that everybody can benefit with that early bird special, because that's a good deal.
And so it's about letting go of all those places where you're not taking care of you, where you're taking care of everybody else first, which of course makes you last.
Yes.
You know, like they say, you've got to put your oxygen mask on first, because if you run out, you can't help anybody else. You can't help yourself. You're just running on empty at that point.
Yeah, it's interesting because that really is a very good visual. And most people, if you've ever flown, and if that oxygen mask ever did fall, and you would, you don't have much time to get it on, and then you can help other people. And these questions, I think that really is important. I don't think that we stop long enough to ask ourselves questions. Sometimes we just, like you said, people are asking, and, the tendency is to say yes, even though it might be something that you should have said no to because, it took too much time or it didn't move whatever you're doing forward. And there are people that what are they, energy vampires, as I guess is a good way to put that. So great. So you can get the free 5 powerful questions to change your life at IamPurpleDawn.com. And there's a little purple button at the very top of the homepage, and you just click on that, and then you can fill out the form. And then the event coming up in July, that does sound like a really powerful thing, because just think about it. If you can get your relationships with yourself and others in alignment, and you start operating in that powerful way where you're making choices and asking questions, getting answers, making choices, then you're operating out of that problem solution, or things don't even become problems because you're in that state of flow, I guess, when you're asking the universe for help, because it is the source, and that's as high as you can go, right?
Right. Because and listening also to what's within you, because ultimately deep down what it is that's going to work for you, but you've been taught to not pay attention to it. You've been taught to pay attention to all the external stuff, not listen within.
Yeah, that's really good advice, Dawn. So everybody, IamPurpleDawn.com, robust website. Not only does she have all of her the freebies available, her events calendar, she talks about all her services and how she can work with you. And you do in person or online work.
Online. I do remote healings as well as in-person healings. It's got my gratitude cards and book on the website, and some of the other stuff that I offer. I teach classes, I do workshops, all sorts of things, and it's just helping people to get to know what it is that to know what they know, and get to what it is that will create that life they'd really like to be living, because we think we can't do that, and you can get there.
Great. Well, I can honestly say I bought your Gratitude for Life journal, and I have the cards, and I really like the cards because they're 3 things that you can be grateful for. And what's nice about it is, you can just pick a card and they're all different, and it just forces you to take a look and be in the now, to be grateful for something, for 3 different things. And they're all very tangible things. And I just joined the Gratitude for Life Facebook group too that you have. So that's really cool. So Dawn, before I let you go, is there anything else that you'd like to add?
I always like to leave people with the thought, so many things are possible once you stop believing they're impossible. And that's a quote by Dawn. So many things are possible once you stop believing they're impossible. So what is it you've decided is impossible for you that might actually be possible for you?
Wow, that's a really good thing to think about. So leave it with that. What is possible for you? So everyone, this is Tammy Patzer. Go make it a beautiful day.
Thanks for listening to Business Innovators Radio. To hear all episodes featuring leading industry influencers and trendsetters, visit us online at businessinnovatorsradio.com today.